An 11-metre humpback whale has been euthanized after it washed up on the Kabeljous Beach near Jeffreys Bay in the Eastern Cape. The reason for the stranding is not known. The whale weighs an estimated 20 tons and the removal of the carcass will be a huge challenge. Lerato Thipa has more.
Joining me now to speak more about it, I'm sure the cameraman is showing you now exactly how big. The whale is 11 meters big, and people here in Jeffreys Bay have been asked not to come too close, although it is exciting, want to take pictures, but just for safety's sake, to keep far away from the whale as possible. But joining me now is Dr. Stephanie Plant, who's from the Earth and Research Science Institute in NNMU. Tell us more about this whale and what the way forward now is because it's been euthanized. Stephanie, let's first talk about the whale. Why the decision to euthanize it? Because you understand that it actually was breathing when it got euthanized.
Yes, we got the call at 5 o'clock last night that the whale washed up and it was alive at that point. It's an 11-meter humpback whale, so it's probably over a year old. And unfortunately it got dark very quickly and we decided to reassess the situation at first light this morning, which we did. The animal was still breathing, but the problem with these animals is that because they're so heavy, it's not an option to tow them out to sea. We have learned from experiences here in the Eastern Cape that we've gone through, as well as from international colleagues that had similar situations elsewhere, that we do more damage to the animal by trying to put a rope around the tail or trying to refloat the animal in any way, because we could damage the spine or the tail. So because it's such a heavy animal, we're talking at least 20 tons, the weight of the body will press on the lungs, which means the animal will slowly suffocate and the breathing gets more and more labored, which is a very painful and slow death. So unfortunately in these instances it is the most humane way to euthanize an animal that size. And there are protocols in place locally and internationally that are being followed. We called out the bomb squad from the Port Elizabeth police that has experience in these situations, and they've euthanized about 14 whales over the years, and it's a very quick and effective method to put the animal out of its pain, I guess.
And it's not the first for the Eastern Cape. You're saying that this specific species is on the rise, and that's the reason behind the whale being on the beach this morning.
Yeah, since about 2000 we're seeing both humpback whales and southern right whales more frequently in our Eastern Cape waters, and we know from scientific studies that both populations are increasing. And as you have increasing populations, it's quite normal to then also have more animals that wash out, either dead or alive, for various reasons like disease or because they have something that's wrong with them or they're just old. We're actually in the process of formalizing a stranding network for the entire South African coast, and in that process, in that form, we're also reviewing our protocols in terms of how these situations are handled. But there is a consultation process where we, the experts, the biologists, have to assess the animal in conjunction with a veterinarian, and we have to report to the Department of Environmental Affairs, which is DEF now, called DFF now, and they give the go-ahead for euthanasia. So it's not a decision that's taken lightly.
Stephanie, I've one more question for you, but first my cameraman can just walk closer for us. I just wanted just to see, like on the whale at the top, right, when we're standing at a distance, it looked like blood was gushing out of it. I don't know if that is blood. I'm not a biological person like you, but if my cameraman can just show you just there on the top, it looks like there's an opening and there was blood gushing out. Is there indication now as to what might have caused the whale to be lying now in the ocean?
No, there was no external wound visible. There was no sign of entanglement or collision with the ship. What you can see here is in fact the damage that was done by the charge that was used to euthanize the animal. It was a small explosive charge that goes into the animal and is very instantaneous. So that's the blood that you're seeing there now. In order to determine the cause of death of this animal, we really would have to do a full necropsy, which requires a team of about 8 to 10 people working over perhaps a 2-day period. and unfortunately we do not have that capacity at present here in the Eastern Cape.
So then what is the way forward now? What will happen to this whale and how long will it take for it to be taken away from the ocean?
So within the next day or two, the local disaster management will remove the animal and take it to the landfill where it will be buried.
Well, that was Dr. Stephanie Plott just giving us the latest feedback concerning the whale, explaining to us, explaining to us that the whale, there's water on my feet, that's why I went wow. Just explaining to us that obviously the whale will take about 2 to 3 days for it to be taken to a landfill in Humansdorp, where it will be decomposed off. Also telling us that it's not the first for the Eastern Cape, because this specific species, the humpback whale, is on the increase in the Eastern Cape, but also saying euthanizing the animal was the best thing they could have done for this animal.
A brave woman from the small village of Colchester along the Sundays River in the Eastern Cape has proved that one person can make a huge difference in a community. Ronelle van Niekerk is known as the dog lady, but she cares for animals and humans alike, even though she's unemployed. Her goal in life is to ensure the animals in the neighbouring informal settlement should be in good condition. Veronica Fourie reports.
Loading her trailer with food and water for the animals. This is how most days start for Ronelle van Niekerk. A ray of light for the grateful pet owners. But she also cares for sick residents as she makes her rounds.
My passion is to make a difference in the lives of the people and the animals. And I love to go out. It's the best day of the week for me. And yes, I love to feed and to care. I feed the animals. If they sick or injured, I take them to the vet and I see that I got a kennel. And there's no sick animals in Colchester, and 90% of the animals are spayed.
It seemed an enormous task, but street by street she started educating the community on how to care for their pets. And the youngsters are eager to assist her.
Ronelle has a very big heart, especially for the dogs. But I think it's more about her being human and having a heart, not actually only for the dogs, but for human life in itself. And she's a very nice person to be with, and she likes to give where they should be given.
Meet Blackie, one of her old patients.
Blackie is one of the first dogs I've started treating 12 years ago. She's old, she's getting frail, but I love her so much. I brought her this kennel to sleep in comfortably, and I bring her water because on this part isn't water.
Judging the dog's tail talk, they are grateful and happy to see their special friend. Nothing is too much or too difficult for this caring woman.
I think we're blessed, and God make us unique to make a difference, and without God you can't do anything. So God is the passion in my life, and I share the love of God with the people and animals around me.
Even though she's unemployed, she always manages to find food for the furries. She also relies on donations and the goodwill of veterinarians to pay off a hefty account. Veronica Fourie, SABC News, Colchester.